I want to show you a video. It was taken in Bethlehem, right when we crossed over from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, right near the security barrier, the big wall there. So the area we were in was packed with United Nations types, NGO types, Western liberal busybody types. Anyways, we're filming our stuff outside of a propaganda art installation by the leftist street artist called Banksy. He's a pro-Palestinian propagandist who made a hotel called the Waldorf Hotel. Anyways, these two Brits wearing keffiyehs are there. So I asked them what they're up to. I want to show you the whole interview. It's quite something, but I just want to give you two definitions first. When I say Abu Mazen, that's the nickname for the Palestinian president with authority over the West Bank, including Bethlehem. His real name is Mahmoud Abbas, but he's better known as Abu Mazen. He's the head of the PLO. So when I say Abu Mazen, I mean the dictator of the West Bank. He was elected in 2005, and then he just decided to stay on forever. He's 81 years old now. He's deeply unpopular. He's a gangster, really, but he's probably better than his rivals, Hamas, who are brutal and Islamist, and they rule over the Gaza Strip. So that's what I mean by Abu Mazen. Now, the other funny word I use is Katyusha. That's actually a Russian word. It's the name of an old-fashioned, simple style of military rocket, first used by the Russians in World War II, and now used by Hamas and other terrorists to fire into Israeli towns and cities. They're not accurate at all, and that's fine when you're shooting into cities and you don't mind hitting civilians. So that's what I mean when I say the word Katyusha, the kind of rocket that Muslim terrorists lob into Israel. Anyways, with those two definitions, here's my interview with two Brits that I met in Bethlehem working for a charity NGO. Can you tell me your name and the name of your NGO, please?
My name is Peter Downey, and I set up a charity called Bethlehem Bath Links 4 years ago by bringing 80 young Palestinians from Beit Sahor, Beit Jala and the camp, Aida camp over there, to Bath to play football, basketball, table tennis, and they had a ball. They had a fantastic time. Since then, we brought the first trade mission out of Bethlehem, or out of the West Bank, since the '67 war. And what we see as our job is to break down the perception of what Palestinians are. Give you an example. I had a heck of a job to get all the kids billets with families in Britain, and one of them was a great friend of mine. And she said, "Sorry, I'm not having a bomb-throwing, stone-throwing Palestinian in my house." And after she'd been there for about 3 days, we were teaching the kids rugby, and because Bath's a great centre of rugby, as you may or may not know. Anyway, she came to me and said, "Peter, I'm sorry, I owe an apology. These Palestinian kids are just like mine."
Do you focus on Christian kids or Muslim kids?
Interdenominational.
So
I never asked what they are.
You never asked, but surely you would know. Of the kids you brought, did you say you brought 80? Is that
80, yeah.
So of the 80, how many are Christian, how many are Muslim?
I honestly don't know because I never asked. There were about 20 who wore the scarves, but as far as I was concerned, they go to the loo, to the lavatory once a day just like the rest of us. They're human beings. And what this is about is breaking down barriers, and therefore I don't seek to find a barrier. What I'm seeking to do is actually to break it down, make everybody realise that actually this side of the wall, that side of the wall, they're not much different.
Got it. So do you try and break down barriers between Israeli Jews and Palestinian Arabs?
That's what I hope will happen. We're just going down in a minute because we're opening up. We've had a tremendous gift of a children's natural history museum at the convention centre in Atura, which is on the outskirts of Bethlehem, and that is 6,500 square feet, and it's opening on Tuesday. Now the principal point is that it'll help the education of the kids who here do have problems. They're on the wrong side of everything.
What's your motivation? Is it religious? Is it political?
Political.
And where would you put yourself on the political spectrum?
To the left.
And yeah, your friends.
This is my friend here. He's the patron. He's a right winger.
Is that Max?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm a conservative.
And what motivates you?
Same as Peter. There's no differentiation between any of the children, and same as our children. There's absolutely no difference at all. And this is the most wonderful country. I've
Which one? Which country are you referring to?
No, Palestine. As far as I'm concerned, it's Palestine.
Now, I'm sure a great number of people are wonderful. I'm sure there's a historical and archaeological and linguistic, and I'm sure there's a great number of things that are wonderful. But there's also some absolutely terrible things about it too, don't you think?
Of course, but there's some terrible things in England. There's some terrible things in Scotland.
And I understand.
United Kingdom.
And I understand that you guys are charitable-minded and you're working on your one part of the problem. How important do you think it is to solve the lack of democracy, lack of civil liberties, and the terrorist problem?
What, here?
Yeah.
They are a democracy.
Are they democracy? When was the last time the president was elected?
Presidential, at that level, there's a hell of a lot wrong up there. That I will agree. However, Beit Sahur has its own mayor, elected by universal suffrage. The mayor of Bethlehem, the same. He and I went to a local government conference 18 months ago up in Ramallah. There were 320 mayors, all democratically elected.
How are civil liberties on this side of the wall?
Pretty good in my view.
How about free speech?
I have no problem.
I know you don't, because you're a Westerner with a foreign passport.
No. Palestinians don't have a problem. There is a divide.
Can you criticize the Palestinian Authority in a newspaper and walk the streets in peace and safety?
Yes, I believe so.
You believe so? What do you think?
I think so as well.
You think you can criticize Abu Mazen?
It's about the level of criticism.
So if it
Democracy is about level debate.
so if you
Sensible conversation.
so if you're sensible, you can criticize them. But if you're not sensible, you go to jail.
I mean, well,
Or maybe you get shot.
No. Shall I tell you the people who go to jail?
Yes.
The people who go to jail are the people the Israelis tell the Palestinians to arrest. Half the trouble with
So the Jews are running this place still.
Yes.
The Jews run
yes. Yes, they do. They pull people in off the streets or whatever.
The Jews do?
Well, they tell the Palestinian Authority. And
So is the Palestinian Authority sort of an instrument of the Jews?
Yes.
Currently, yes.
They're puppets.
Yes, afraid so.
You're putting words in our mouth.
Oh, you tell me a word you prefer.
No.
Well, I would say that it's a stage in the process. We're here as a stage in the process.
So who
It
would
will
you
be
prefer?
a long process, and little by little by little, we will get to a point where it's accepted by everyone, and people will live in peace together.
If you don't like Abu Mazen, if you think he's a puppet of the Jews, do you have some political figure that you think is a better fit?
Can I just draw a parallel? He is a Liberal Democrat, and I'm a Conservative. We fight all the time, but in words. We are the greatest of friends.
But neither of you is going to throw each other in jail or kill each other.
No, we're not. But
Well,
what we're going to do...
every now and then, I'll tell you with some of the things he says. But no,
Neither of you are actually going to go to jail for criticizing each other, but that happens here in the Palestinian territories.
Yes, it does. But how do we get to a point where the Palestinian territories are similar to the UK?
Rule of law, civil liberties, equality of men and women, separation of mosque and state.
Little by little by little. And we're here doing our little bit.
You're taking people to play rugby. What are you doing other than taking people to play rugby? Sounds great, and I'm sure the kids think it's wonderful. But sorry, how does that do a damn thing on the ground?
Why do you think sport was invented in the first place? It was a replacement of battle. Sport is a replacement.
So maybe we could have the Hamas playing the Fatah in rugby and maybe get the Jews involved somehow.
I can draw a parallel. I used to play for a junior rugby club, and we used to play the police every year, and that was a battle royal. And you'd beat each other senseless on the pitch. Afterwards, you'd stand up, you'd have a drink together, you'd have a talk. And gradually, over a period of time, we'd get to know one another. And those battles that started as real fisticuffs actually became quite just hard rugby.
Let me ask you a question. And this is a question I put to an Arab Muslim high school kid I talked to the other day. Is there a role model for a government that you think the Palestinian territory should aspire to? Is there a country you hope it turns into around the world?
Yeah, full enough, it's yours.
Canada?
From what I see at the outside, but then Canada's
Everybody's going there now, aren't they? Because Trump.
But Canada had its problems
Yeah, it did.
with a different type of premier, and that is what happens. And what gets my goat very much is that people from the outside say the Palestinians have to negotiate. They should get one negotiating body, and yet in Israel, they have what, 22, 23 parties? And so they're allowed to have diversity, but don't ask the Palestinians to have diversity, otherwise they're in trouble. So the pressure is always on the Palestinians. And I get very furious with my government when they say, get the Palestinians to negotiate. I ask, negotiate what? What have they got that the Israelis haven't already taken?
An acceptance that the Jewish state can exist and an abandonment of violence.
Abu Mazen has accepted. Abu Mazen has accepted Israel as it exists.
As a Jewish state?
As a state. It can't be a Jewish state if it gives equal rights to the Arabs and the Palestinians who still live in Israel, who hold Israeli passports.
Okay, so you think that Israel it should not be a Jewish state?
No.
Okay. And do you think that Abu Mazen has renounced violence against Israel?
Oh, he has, without a doubt.
And has his police and his whoever's under his authority, have they renounced violence against Israel too?
Yes, they have. What you do have, without a shadow of a doubt, is Hamas, who finally, every now and then, and not often, look at the actual figures, not often, yep, they lose it. Should I tell you something?
They just lose their temper. Don't we all, though?
Exactly.
Don't we all?
Exactly.
I mean, just the other day I was saying to the wife, I mean, if you ask me to take the garbage out one more time, I'm going to fire a Katyusha at you. Holy. We all lose our temper.
Well, that is right, under provocation. Yeah. And provocation is a problem. Yeah. There's no question.
And how do the Jews provoke Gaza?
Because they go in there every day.
The Jews go into Gaza every day?
Let me show you something, if I may.
Okay, and then we're going to run, but this is going to be amazing. I want to see how the Jews provoke Hamas in Gaza.
I'll tell you.
Whilst he's looking for that, can we just say one thing? I think you're in a really, really good position because you have a statesman who's leading your country currently.
Who's that?
Trudeau.
And what's he done that's statesman-like?
His ability to give a balanced argument on most of the issues.
So split the difference between terrorists and democracies. He's balanced between the two?
He's showing leadership, and it's one thing that I think our country should be doing. We created the problem over here. Hold on a minute. You just wait your turn.
Uh-oh.
This is always the way.
He's going to fire a Katyusha. He's going to fire a Katyusha at you.
I'll duck it. I'll duck it. We created the problem here many, many years ago. And we should have been in a position where we could have sorted it out.
So this is a British atonement.
It should be.
So this is you have a lingering guilt a century after Balfour. You want to do a penance.
Guilt, but I have an awareness of what was done by my.
Which is more moral, the United Kingdom or the Palestinian people?
Well, that's a heck of a question.
Well,
you answer the question yourself. Don't pose a question you can't answer yourself. I think that there isn't a question of deciding who is more moral than anyone else.
Who's more moral, the Israeli democracy or the Palestinian democracy?
Peter, where would you go with that one?
Well, basically, they both are have a morality. The particular point is that both are working to a degree by fear,
yes.
And it is fear that actually makes the political situation.
It's how the world is controlled through
yes,
fear.
It is, and Netanyahu is absolute magic at doing it.
Who's a more moral leader, Netanyahu or Abu Mazen?
Abu Mazen.
Okay. Sure. Show me your last point, then we got to run.
Right. Israeli Navy opens fire on the Palestinian fishing boats off Gaza. Israeli army positions open fire on Gaza farms. Israeli armor stalls onto the two.
Now you're showing me an email. Who's this email from?
And that is actually from New Zealand.
Okay.
And that happened on one day, on the 7th of March. That's only 3-4 days ago.
So Leslie Bravery told you that. Who's Leslie Bravery?
She does the analysis here. Oh damn, it's gone.
All right. Listen, I've enjoyed our conversation more than you know.
If you want to see more videos from our trip to Israel and the West Bank and Bethlehem and other places, go to rebelisrael.com.